Good morning, children. Welcome to our science class. Today, we are going to start with the next chapter, separation of substances. Now, what is separation? The word meaning of separation is to remove substances from a mixture of two or more substances. Example from our daily life include separating stones from rice. This you might have seen when your mother cooks rice. Then first of all she removes pebbles or you can say small stones or any undesirable material from rice and then she cooks it. Or separating tea from tea leaves. Common example you all must have seen the separation of tea leaves once the tea is being prepared and once we pour it in a cup, then we remove the tea leaves with the help of a strainer or separating chaff from the grains. Now question arises, what is the need of separating substances? Why the separation of substances should be carried out? There are four reasons for this. Now, we separate substances so as to obtain two different but useful components. That is, both the component which we are getting after separations are equally useful to us. Or we may remove non-useful components. That is, we do not want those components, so we remove those non-useful components. Or it is also possible that sometime the food which we are going to make may be mixed with some harmful components or impurities and we don't want those impurities to be in the food. So what we do, we remove those impurities or harmful components. Or another reason is to group substances of different sizes. Now, here we have discussed the word mixture so many times. You should be clear what is a mixture. So let us define what is a mixture. Mixture is two or more materials which differ in properties and these materials are mixed or stitched together. That is, in case of a mixture, two or more materials are mixed together, but do remember that they do not combine chemically. That means no chemical reaction takes place between the components of a mixture. That means the components of the mixture, they retain their original properties, and that also means that the components can easily be separated by physical means. You can pick up the component and you can separate out each and every component of a mixture. Now let us see some common methods of separating substances. One is handpicking, then winnowing, then threshing, and then sieving. Now we are going to discuss each method in detail. Let us start with handpicking. As the name suggests, what we do in handpicking, the unwanted material is simply picked up. Now, it is the simplest method of separation. And when is this method used? It is used when unwanted material is in small quantity. Remember, there are two things. First of all, the material, the unwanted material should be in a small quantity. And secondly, the shape, size and color of the unwanted material should be different from the useful material. For example, children, this material this method of separation cannot be used if you have a mixture of salt and sugar, because salt and sugar both have the same size of the component, both are white in color, so we cannot use this method to separate a mixture of salt and sugar. Common examples where handpicking method is used is when we pick up pebbles or broken grains and insect from rice, wheat and pulses. As you can see in the picture, the person is picking up unwanted material from this rice. And then here also the person is picking up unwanted material from a stack of wheat. Now let us discuss the next method, and what is that? It is threshing. This method is basically used by the farmers to separate the grains from the stalk. After harvesting, what they have a mixture of grains and the stalk. So what they do, they have to remove the grains from the stalk. So this method of threshing is being used. Now let us see what are the different ways by which threshing is carried out. As you can see in this slide, threshing is used for separating seeds from the harvested stalks. Now, the first method is manual threshing. What we mean by manual threshing? This is the method which is being used when the quantity of material is very small. And how it is being done? Small bundles of the harvested stalks are made, and then they are threshed on a hard surface. So because of the pressure, the grains are separated from the stalk. Next method is threshing by animals. This is used when the quantity of mixture is in a huge amount. Then it is done by the traditional ways, that is by using animals. And for this method, first of all, the stalks are spread around a pole, and then several bullocks are tied to the pole, and when these bullocks, when they move on this uh, stalk, then the trampling by their hooves help in separating grains. But nowadays, as every method is being machinized, here also threshing is done by means of machines which are known as threshers. And these machines, they run either by a diesel engine or by an electric motor. Now, the advantages of threshing done by machine is that it helps in saving time and labor. Now, children, let us see the next method. Next method is winnowing. Now, what is winnowing? It's a method where we separate grains from the chaff. It is also used to remove small weevils or pests from stored grains. Now, here, as you can see in the picture, the farmer is doing this process of winnowing. He is holding this you can say a mixture of husk and straw, and then since the seeds being heavier, they settle down at the bottom forming a heap, and since the chaff, which is, or you can say the husk and straw, it is very light in weight, it is being carried away by wind. In this picture it is more clear. This is what is called soup. This is the common word, the Hindi word for soup. So here they have a mixture of husk and grain. So because of the flow of air, husk which are very light in weight, they are, husk means the outer covering of the grains. The being lighter in weight, this husk is being carried away along with the air current, whereas the grain which are heavier, they settle down forming a heap on the ground. I hope the winnowing is clear to you. Now, let us see the next method, that is sieving. You all must have seen this method, isn't it? You must have seen your mother sieving flour through a strainer, or the example which we took, that is we sieve tea through a strainer. Tea leaves being heavier remain on the top, whereas the tea being liquid and it comes down in a cup at the bottom. So again, what is the principle behind this sieving and what type of particle? So for sieving, it is very important that the particles should be very small in size so that they can easily pass through a sieve. and there are different size sieves are used depending upon the size of the particles which are to be separated. And now let us also define what is a sieve. So sieve is a device which has many holes, and this sieve separates the wanted elements from the unwanted material. Now here also you can see that sieving is a way to separate substances in a mixture. Now again, the particles which are big in size than the pore size of the sieve, those particles they remain on the top of the sieves, whereas the particles which are smaller than the pore size of the sieve, they pass through the sieve and then they are collected in a container. Now again children, do remember that sieving can work only for separating insoluble substances from other substances. For example, you can separate a mixture of rice with stone, but you cannot use this method to separate a mixture of sand and sugar in water, or sand and salt in water, because salt will be soluble and you will not be able to remove the salt from water. So sieving only works for separating insoluble substances from the other substances. For example, separating big rocks from small rocks. Now sieving, do remember that sieving cannot separate dissolved substance from the solvent. Now here children, look at this. This big sieve is used at the construction site, where when the pebbles and stones they are removed from sand by this sieving method. And here you can see that through this sieve the flour is being sieved out, so the material which are bigger in size they will be on the top of the sieve, whereas the particles which are smaller they will move down through this sieve. So children, I hope the topic which we have discussed today are clear to you. And children, I am thankful to you for watching the video. In our next video, we are going to cover the remaining methods of separation of substances. Thank you, children.